What's up everyone? It's Dan and I'm back for another lesson of drumming without drums. Today we're going to cover another type of subdivision. That means another way to divide the quarter note. So we already learned about how to divide the quarter note into two pieces. Those are called eighth notes. We also learned how to divide the quarter note into four pieces. Those are 16th notes. Today we're going to learn about eighth note triplets. Those divide the quarter note into three pieces. So let's do a little recap first about how quarter notes relate to eighth notes and 16th notes. I'm going to play one measure of each type of note, quarter notes, eighth notes, and 16th notes. Ready? 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. These are eighth notes. 3, 4. 16th notes. 2, 3, 4. Back to quarter notes. 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. Alright? So you see how those relate. Now we're going to cover eighth note triplets. What's a little bit tricky about eighth note triplets is with eighth notes and 16th notes, if you start with your right hand, whenever you get to the next quarter note, you're going to be on your right hand again, right? So with eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and see how I'm hammering my right hand there? With 16th notes, it's the same thing. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. So with eighth note triplets, we're going to be alternating hands. Meaning, if I start on 1 with the right hand, when I get to beat 2, I'm going to be on the left hand, and then beat 3 with the right, beat 4 with the left. So these are eighth note triplets. We're going to learn how to count them after I show you how they sound. Ready? 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, those are eighth note triplets. Now just with eighth notes and like with 16th notes, we have a way to count eighth note triplets. So, or a way to count those in-between notes, because you always count 1, 2, 3, 4 on the quarter note, because we're still dealing with that same 1, 2, 3, 4, that same quarter note, we're just dividing it in different pieces. So this is how you count and play 16th note triplets together. I said 16th note triplets, I meant eighth note triplets, okay? 3, 4. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. See that? For each of the three notes, I'm counting something. 1 triplet, and then I'm on B2, 2 triplet. Okay? Those are eighth note triplets, and what's a little tricky not about eighth note triplets is not only are you switching hands, but they're in a different type of feel, because you're dividing in threes now. Whereas before, everything we learned was dividing in twos, right? So when you divide the beat into twos, it's called a duple feel. When you divide the beat into pieces into threes, it's called a triple feel, all right? So it's a very different type of feel, but again, the quarter note always stays the same, all right? So let's do a quick little exercise, and this is very beneficial for you to learn about how eighth notes relate to eighth note triplets, because I'm using the same term there, eighth notes, right? But they actually are very different types of notes. An eighth note is very different from an eighth note triplet. So I'm going to count and play one measure of eighth notes followed by one measure of eighth note triplets and then back and forth, okay? So you get a feel for how this should sound. Ready? 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. Now, that sounds pretty difficult, maybe. But a way to really anchor that exercise to make sure it's steady is to just count quarter notes, and that will allow you to understand how those two notes relate to each other. Alright? So I'm just going to count quarter notes, but play the same thing. One measure eighth notes followed by one measure of eighth note triplets. Here we go. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Alright? That's a great exercise. That'll help you get familiar with how to play eighth note triplets. The last thing we're going to do is something a little bit more fun. We're going to learn how to play eighth note triplets in a beat. Alright? So again, just as we played in our basic rock beat. We're still playing a 4/4 beat, a beat that's in 4. There are 4 beats per measure. But here, I'm going to be playing eighth note triplets with the right hand over here on the hi-hat, and then I'm going to be playing 2 and 4 with the left hand over here on our snare drum. Once I get that going, I'm going to add 1 and 3 with the right foot, which is playing the bass drum. Ready? 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, count quarter notes. 2, 3, 4. Now let's add the bass drum. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Alright? That beat is also called what's known as a 12/8 groove. Okay? It's called 12/8 because there are 12 eighth notes in that measure. Alright? So if you see a piece of music that says 12/8, 12/8, that's what that means. It's a beat that's like that. Alright? Now, one variation to cover before we're done with this lesson. We're going to put the bass drum in 2 other places. So instead of just playing the bass drum on 1 and 3, we're going to play the bass drum on 1 and the let of 3, so 1 triplet, and then 3 and the let of 3, 3 triplet. So it sounds like this: 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. That's a mouthful, all right? But then we're just going to play the hands in the same place. So again, we're just going to do eighth note triplets and 2 and 4 here. But you're going to see how this creates a really cool groove. Ready? 3, 4, and count eighth note triplets. 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. I also realize I'm playing that pretty fast, so you may want to start that whole thing a lot slower. Maybe this speed. 3, 4, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1. That's a lot more attainable to really get a feel for eighth note triplets. So be sure to start slow. Don't do what I just did. Alright? So those are eighth note triplets. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about how you can use eighth note triplets to create some really cool fills, even when you're playing an eighth note or a 16th note groove. Alright? Thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.